Hello everyone. These are a few questions which has been coming in almost every interview these days. If you're looking for a high-paying product company or even service-based company, without solving these questions, you cannot navigate to round two or round three. So in this playlist, what I'm gonna do is I'm not just gonna talk about the questions. I will be solving them, and I'll also gonna talk about the intuition behind it, how we actually look at the problem and start solving. Because see, solving a problem is a one thing, but without having in-depth, optimization technique, if you're not going to use it, then using for loop again and again will not going to help you navigate and showcase your talent in front of the interview. So this playlist will be completely dedicated for DSA in C sharp because I don't find much of the resources out there on YouTube or anywhere which talks about DSA in C sharp. And also I'm going to talk about a myth in the coming slides. But this is the question which we are going to solve today in this way. So this is the question which was asked to me in like at least 6 to 7 times in different companies, different interviews. So today I'm going to talk about how we actually solve this, and the preferred timing should be we go off on means you should get the answer in single run. You should not keep on using for loops twice or thrice. So, but before we get there, let's break a myth that DSA is not at all required for C sharp developer or basic question is good enough. This is not the case. I can tell you with my last 8 years of experience out here. Majority of the resources out there on YouTube or elsewhere talks about focusing on API, framework, architecture, and everything. That is true. This is exactly what I was talking about. It was like a tight slap on my face because the moment I sat down, the first question was, "Can you rotate a 2D array?" And that was like I was totally blank because I was well prepared, but I was thinking like the first question will be what is the difference between interface and abstract class and things like that. He might ask me something around design pattern, maybe some something like that. But the point was the first question hit me so hard. I felt so disturbed. I literally felt so upset and insulted. I can tell you that was the time in 2022, and now I have cleared so many product companies. So that's exactly I want you to be in the situation with. I want you to be in a situation where whatever question comes, whatever things comes, I'm not at all saying only focusing on DSA will work. That's why I have other playlist also where I am, making a .NET backend developer to a full stack developer. You can have a look into that. But my point is DSA has become part of it. Not just Hitachi, Infosys. I mean, can you even imagine? A lot of people think Infosys is a service-based company. Don't go into in depth in DSA, but they have got a dedicated R&D team. The first round was in DSA. I cleared it, but since Hitachi was a bigger one, so I thought of going there. My point is, if you not gonna take this DSA thing seriously, I'm telling you guys, it will be difficult. It will be difficult. I failed in this interview also, which happened in 2023. And since then, I created a roadmap for myself where I'll not just talk about the framework, the C sharp, the .NET framework, .NET Core, but I also, gave my best to learn DSA. And today, and my next plan is system design. But in this playlist, we will be completely focusing on DSA. Most frequently asked question. We'll understand the intuition behind it and all those things. And now I'm able to clear Herman as well. So almost all the companies which were, not taking me, and now they're ready to accept it with a very significant package they want to. Not just these big names, H&M. I can give you name after name. A lot of people don't even know about these companies. They are literally looking for .NET developers. So DSA is not required for .NET is a myth. Even Siemens, anyone, you name it, everybody will be asking you at least one or two questions around DSA. You might get, you might clear the interview as well, even despite not clearing the DSA round. That's totally fine, and that might work. 90% of the time, you will face one or two DSA question, and unfortunately, because of the mindset, especially as I was talking about in AI era, how they filter a candidate. Just memorizing some theoretical question will not help, right? They need somebody who can solve a problem right there. Ever since .NET Core came into the picture, earlier in the .NET Framework era, it used to be the case where only the theory and architect and framework was important. But one interview literally changed my mind. In 2021, when I was planning to switch, I was very well prepared because for last 2.5 years, my interview, basically my profile was getting shortlisted almost everywhere because when I started my journey in TCS, I learned C Sharp and Angular both. So I was able to, at least get into the interview round at least. But the one question which came to me during, I think Siemens or somewhere, one of the product company, it was a tight slap for me because in .NET Framework era, those questions were relevant. understanding the theory, basics behind the scene was enough. But in .NET Core era, now even the startups, product company, all of them are using it. So how seriously engineering roles filter today? In today's world, you're not no longer required somebody who can write good code, you know. So I think one of the way they are filtering it is using how you solve a problem right there in the interview. So let's
I
talk
was
about
just
this.
talking about the AI thing. With the advent of AI and AI coming into the picture significantly, you're definitely going to be judged based on how you solve a problem right there when you get it. Okay. So without wasting any further delay, let's start with our question number one, which is move all zeros to the end.
Yeah. So let's start solving this problem. Okay. So whenever you get a problem, make sure you read it out twice. Okay. And do mental mapping and divide the problem in different steps. So the problem is we have to move all the zeros at the end of the array, right? A final output should be something like this, where the relative position of the integers should remain the same. Means if 2 is coming before 3, it has to remain in the same way even after addition. Currently here, the constraint was not to modify a new array. We should be modifying the existing array and solve without taking any extra space. So space complexity was has to be 0. But whenever you're learning DSA, first make sure you solve a problem through brute force approach, because brute force gives you an approach how to look into the problem. It gives you a best possible way, I can say, to learn DSA. First step has to be brute force. So we have divided the steps, like first we will traverse through the entire array and see what are the non-zero elements. We will take that and put it in a separate list or array, right? And then that separate array which we have created, we will modify the original array with that much non zero elements, and whatever rest will be there, we will modify it to 0. So now let's start coding. Okay, so first we will create an integer list. Okay, let's say whatever, let's say temp array. Okay, temp list. Oops. Okay, new list of integer. Okay, and this is step one. Now we will add all non-zero elements in the given list, in the new list which we have created, the temporary list, right? So how we'll do that? We'll loop through the entire array, and we'll go till the length of the array. What we will do, we'll check if the given array element is non-zero. If that's not the case, then we will update the list. Temp dot, oops, I'm sorry, why? It's a waste of time, sorry. Temp dot add. We will add this element in the temporary array. So now when you do that, you will get these two. Original will be remaining the same way, the way it was, and the temporary list or array will be having this much, right? Now, once we have got that, we will traverse the original array up to the element we have in the temporary array. Let's say we have 5 elements. So we will go starting from 0 up to the 5 element in the original array, right? Now, we will be doing in step 3, we'll copying all the things which we have in a temporary array to the original one, right? So let's consider an index to be 0, and I'll tell you why I'm taking this index. Now we'll traverse the loop, but this time we will not loop the entire original array. We will go up to the size of the temporary array, right? Why? Because we need to traverse up to the time when we have non-zero element. After that, since we have to put zeros, we don't have to traverse because it will be waste of time. It will not break your code, but there's no need of doing that. And that's how these small steps now also they can ask. So to that part, what we will do, we will update original array with whatever element we have in the temporary list, right? After this step, you will see the final array will look something like this. After fourth step, till now we have updated the original array, and whatever element left will remain as it is, but in final index, and we'll keep on increasing the index. Okay. So using this, we have again traversed the original array up to the size of temporary array, and we have updated all the non-element 0 exactly in the sequence which it was originally. And the final step would be to you know put zeros at the end of starting from the size of temporary array to the end. So while your index is smaller than length, will go till the end, because index has reached to the fifth position. From sixth to last position, we want to update everything out there as 0. Okay, and then we'll keep on increasing the index. So final output you will see will become something like this. But as I said, this is not the best approach. So we will optimize the solution now. So for that, we need to understand something called two-pointer approach. Let me help you understand that, because that's a very important concept. In general, also you can be asked like, do you know how you solve? And that two-pointer approach will help you solve so many questions. Now let's try to solve this using two-pointer approach, right? How this approach works is we will have two variables pointing to different indexes of the array, right? J will be always pointing to 0 and I will be moving. And whenever we find a non-zero number, we will swap it. And we will keep on swapping it without adding non-zeros to a different array or any separate list. Within the given array, we will be doing that. So let's say I is pointing here and J is here. The moment J finds a non-zero number, it will swap. How it works? Let's start. So let's look at the dry run. Okay. Currently, I and j both are pointing to 0, so nothing will change. Array remains the same. Now in next pass, when I becomes 1, array of I equals to 0. 0 we have found. I will not do anything. J will move ahead, right? And j is still waiting for the next non-zero number. Because the moment j finds a non-zero number, it will replace with I. I is gonna continue pointing to 0, and j, until it reaches to here or somewhere where non-zero it's gonna find, it will replace. Now here things becomes interesting. When I is pointing to 2, means this one, and j is still waiting with the 0. Now the moment you have find a non-zero number, both of them will be swapped. So 2 will become 0 will become 2 and 2 will become 0. No? This is how we will continue. At I, when I reaches to third, means here, and j, which is pointing to this, then we will not do anything. Because if both of them pointing to non-zero number, then we'll not do anything. One element will keep on finding a non-zero number, and one will be always going to stand at 0, so that the moment the other one finds a non-zero number, they will be swapped. And by this process, by the end of this iteration, you will see all the non-zero number will come at front and zeros will go at end. So let's look at the code. So what we are going to do, we will pointing our j to 0, 0th element, not a 0 number, 0th position, right? And now traverse the array. When we are going to traverse the array, I array of I is not equals to 0. We are checking if it is non-zero. Only this condition will run if we find a non-zero number. The moment we find it, because j is anyways pointing to the 0th position, right? We will reverse that. After that, j will again move to see if there is any other non-zero number. And through this process, you will eventually reach to the uh, array, which will give you something like this, where all the non-zero will be at the front and zeros will go at the end of the array, right? I'm gonna share this code with you. And now, just before we close this, let's analyze the time complexity. Time complexity will be remain big O of n, because we might have to traverse the entire array, and we might not find any non-zero number. So that's possible. The entire array is 0. The space complexity, since we have not used any extra space, so we go off 1. So that's how simple it was. But if you don't practice, you might not solve there. So that's why try to run the code and see how you find. Because this two-pointer approach is going to solve a lot of questions in the coming video. I will keep on sharing. We will try at least solving 3 questions every week. And within 6 months, you will realize that you will be fully ready to crack almost any DS around, especially for a C#.NET developer. Okay. So I'm going to share more questions and we will be solving live. I would strongly recommend you guys to do the same, because that will really help you solving the question during interview. Because see, normally when we are doing it on our own locally, when there's no pressure, nobody is looking at how we are coding, things are different. But even running those loops, small loops, assigning variables, sometimes becomes tricky. I personally felt it. So try avoiding that, try practicing, and keep on supporting. Okay. Please share the channel with a lot of our .NET developer. Let's help each other to reach a place where I just spoke about. Thank you very much. Let's see you in the next video. Thank you.